Hello and welcome back to this course. Today in this video we are going to discuss about the functions and basically parameters in the function. So the function parameters. Parameters are specified after the function name inside the parentheses. You can add as many parameters as you want, just separate them with the comma. Parameters mean passing some information to the function. If we want to pass some information from one method to another method, then we use the parameters. So without wasting our time, let's discuss the parameters in our NetBeans with the help of the code. So here in NetBeans, I am going to create a method that will find the greatest number among the three numbers. So let's start it. First of all, I am going to take input from the user in my main method, and I pass those three numbers to the function which I create that evaluate that which number is the greatest number. So first of all, I type here system.out.println and enter first number, and I simply take input with the help of the scanner class. So I type s1 is equal to new scanner and system.in, and I import the scanner class in my program like this, and then int num1 equals to s1 dot next int, and the second number I type here system.out.println enter second number, and scanner s2 equals to new scanner and system.in and int num2 equals to s2 dot next int and system dot out dot println enter third number, scanner s3 equals to new scanner and system.in and int num3 equals to s3 dot next int. Okay, so I have taken the three numbers as input from the user, num1, num2 and num3. Now I have to pass these three numbers to my other function that evaluate that which is the greatest number among these three numbers, and I pass these numbers through the parameters. So before that, I create the method inside my class. So I type here public static, and it is going to return the integer type value. So I type here int, the name of the function. I type here greatest number, and in the parameter I type here int number1, int number2 and int number3. Okay, so in this body I have to type the code that will evaluate which is the greatest number among the three given numbers. So I type here if number 1 is greater than the number 2 and number 1 is greater than number 3, this means that the number 1 is the greatest number. So I return here return number 1, and again I remove the space from here. Okay, and else if number 2 is greater than number 1 and number 2 is greater than number 3, then return number 2, and okay, so I remove the space from here like this. Okay, and at the end I type the else return number 3 because number 3 is the greatest. Okay, so we have a method with the name the greatest number, and we pass the three numbers number 1, number 2 and number 3. If the number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 1 is greater than number 3, this means that the number 1 is the greatest number of these three numbers. And else if number 2 is greater than number 1 and number 2 is greater than number 3, this means that number 2 is the greatest number, and definitely number 3 is the greatest number. Okay, so I go to my main function and I'm going to call the function here. I type here greatest number, and here I type the num1, num2 and num3. Okay, so in this way I will call the function. I type just the name of the variables or values that I want to pass, and if I want to print the result, I simply type here system.out.println, and I type here the greatest number is, and I concatenate it with the statement like this. Okay, so now if I run this program and I enter the first number, I type here 78, I type here 1, I type here 100, and greatest number is 100. I run this program once again and type here 1, 50, 50 and 78, and 78 is the greatest number. I run this program once again and type here 100, then you can say the 5 and 9, and greatest number is 100. Okay, so there are some points that you have to keep in your mind. First of all, when you create a function, this thing here is the parameter, this is the parameter, and when you pass some information, then that is called the arguments. You are passing the arguments and it is the parameters in the definition of the function. These are the parameters and this is the argument. When you pass some information, you say that you are passing the arguments in the function, and the parameter will receive that arguments and store them in these variables. So I hope that you understand that how function works and how we can use the parameterized function. So I hope you understand this video. If you feel any problem, then definitely you can ask me a question. I will help you. So that's it for this video. I will see you in next video.